Hello there and welcome to a new video for Age of Wonders 4. I got a new build guide for you. You asked for a Chaos Order build and I delivered. So this one goes for the Mystic culture because I realized that the Chaos and Order tomes include a lot of things that synergize well with these guys. I'm going to explain why and how in the course of the video. We will talk about the culture and the species first, then about the tomes, then we're going to talk about the military composition and some words about the strategy at the end. Timestamps down below. Let's go. So first off, the culture itself. So we got ourselves, obviously, a mystic culture. Prolific Swarmers is one of the things that I cannot say no to in this build. We are going for the Tome of the Horde, so we like that one as well. There's pretty much no room for something better than that. And on the second slot, I went for Chosen Uniters. You know, we got the two affinities right from the get-go this way. The interesting part about Chosen Uniters is you are pretty strong at the vassal gameplay with the tomes we choose, and therefore you can pretty easily vassalize whatever you have conquered in this build. That's why I went for Chosen Uniters, but by all means, this slot I think is way more flexible than the Prolific Swarmers one, so if you want to take Runesmiths or whatever pleases you, feel free to knock yourself out. I think this one is quite replaceable, but I love to play with a 20% extra income from vassals and the two Whispering Stones right from the get-go. I'll have that. Okay, so on the racial traits, I went for Resilient this time. I think every trait here in this area works. I can recommend the one that gives your species more physical resistance, or mount traits would work as well for your tier 3 battle mages. I went for Resilient because I personally think that resistance is highly underrated, because statuses are really annoying, they are hard to get rid of, and this is one surefire way to make your high tier units really resilient against that stuff. At least it didn't let me down so far. I was quite pleased about the effects there. The secondary slot, Arcane Focus, is something that I really consider as quite irreplaceable because, you know, we really want that extra damage and magic attacks because we work with those a lot, and really a lot. So this one, feel free to exchange it to your own pleasure, but Arcane Focus, I think, is a quite mandatory one. All right, let's get on over to the tome section. So this build features exclusively Chaos and Order tomes, and it works surprisingly well. So, like I already spoilered, the Tome of the Horde is the first one. So Spawnkin is just the steroid that every early game loves. This transformation spell. Stupidly powerful, get it as soon as you can. And the Houndmaster gives you one throwaway unit at the beginning of the fight. This is an amazing thing. Summons that you can use like that are amazingly powerful, and you have very early access to these. And Blaze of the Horde is a really good AoE nuke. Since we're playing Mystics, we got a lot of combat casting potential anyway, so really good stuff. Fury of the Horde and Summon Irregulars are rounding out the whole roster here. Summon Irregulars is amazing to fill up your ranks right on the get-go, while Fury of the Horde is a nice booster, but I personally prefer Blaze of the Horde most of the time. So the Battle Seeker training, I want to point out, is really cool. 20% more damage for tier 1 units. Just remember, the tier 1 units have to be under the banner of the specific hero, so if you want to make the most use of it. Tome of Faith is the other one we pick. This adds in heavy supportive capabilities. The Chaplain is a really nice addition to what we already got, and the Staves of Mending give us the Mending Touch ability. Free Touch Heal. This is amazing. This gives you so much healing power. It's really good. And on top of that, we have also a negative status cleanse on this one, so we are already really powerful versus status effects since our racial and the dudes here. So Faithful Whispers, Vassal playstyle, like I said, really amazing stuff since we can capture cities quite easily. Army Heal, I love that one, never hurts. Convent, Knowledge and Mana for city stability is really good too. And Wrath of the Faithful is, over the course of this game, a really powerful spell if you want to use it, but most of the time you have better things to do. I want to give a quick pointer towards the Abbey. Extra knowledge income for farms can be really amazingly good for this because Mystic Culture gets mana easy, but research it needs to be a little bit more on the lookout. So, tier 2, we get right into the Tome of Mayhem. So, this is an amazing thing. Since we are not cranking up our damage, we're going to crank down the damage of the enemy and heal up our troops, and this book supports this playstyle. Mark of Misfortune gives your battle mages and supporters the ability to inflict misfortune, so fumble chance. Fumbles are 50% weaker attacks, and this shows so much effect. And since the main backbone of our army are battle mages, it works a charm. Curse of Misfortune gives you the ability to spit that a little bit over the battlefield. 2 hex radius is really wide. So Confusion is a nice siege project because, seriously, the displacement here is annoying to deal with since the AI is not that good with positioning anyways. And Infectious Insanity is a costly thing, but you can turn one enemy unit insane and it inflicts that to the other units as well if they attack that. This is a nice disruption tool, albeit costly, but you can easily keep an entire enemy banner busy with that one if you time it right. Tier 2, we hop onto the Tome of the Beacon. This is showing so many potential, so much synergy potential to the Tome of the Horde. Mighty Meek gives our Tier 1 units now, for 1, the Faithful trait, so it makes them even cheaper, we love that, and Spirit damage on top of that, for each unit tier difference between the unit and them. So it's a nice little damage steroid and cost efficiency thing, and most importantly, we rack up more and more faithful. Can get useful later. The Lightbringer is another battle mage unit that will benefit from all the battle mage spells that we got. Also, I like the conversion spell. Seriously, it's pretty nifty. And Covenant of the Faith gives you some extra Imperium income and also faithful liege units, but I don't really think that's a big thing. And Blessed Reinforcements is also a pretty interesting thing because I realized you don't have to pay any upkeep for that spell. You can just blurt out lots of Blessed Souls. Quite fun, because you see here how much mana I got, and believe me, I'm trying to get rid of it. I just have so much of it. So Blessed Reinforcements is surprisingly powerful on the Mystics. And Champion of the Faithful is also amazingly powerful. Don't sleep on that. It's a super good support skill because with 20 morale bonus, you are already in the realm of high morale, so extra crit chance. Who doesn't like extra crit chance? And the Divine Beacon actually is quite useful because you have a lot of combat casting things. You can have a little bit of a support beacon there, but I don't use it that much. So tier 3 is where this build completely takes over. I recommend Tome of Pandemonium as the first one, and pick up Havoc Magic and Mass Hysteria. These 2 spells are amazing. Mass Hysteria, this one churns out surprisingly often stuff like stuns, berserk, insanity, so hard crowd control. The enemy units can be sometimes completely hindered in their movement, and this is a guaranteed status inflict. So in the worst case, you just apply weakening or slowing or something like that, but I do receive a lot of quality results with that spell. Havoc Magic gives you the ability to have that effect with a 30% chance on every basic attack of your battle mages and supporters, and this is just outright insane. It happens quite fairly often that your battle mages now will start to disable enemy units. This is really fun, I can tell you. So, Inside Revolution is also a really nice world spell, which allows you to spam new infestations and hurt the enemy at the same time. So you can farm the enemy and hurt them at the same time. I love this spell. So Vassals of Chaos gives you another little steroid for the negative statuses on the enemy, and the Chaos Eater is just a nice synergy to all these nifty little things that we rack up. This is mostly crowd control in my personal experience, but it is so worth. Tome of Sanctuary is the other tier 3 we pick up, and that's the longevity and resilience that you're looking for. Keeper's Mark is stupidly good. You work with a lot of low tier frontliners in this build, and the moment they actually would die, they gain steadfast for a turn and you can operate around them. heal them back up, move them outside after killing the enemy unit pressuring them. This Keeper's Mark has so amazing many uses. I love this spell, especially since we're working with a squishy front line. This spell is stupidly good. And Salvation gives you the burst heal to just heal up somebody after the Keeper's Mark has procced. All HP healed, everything dispelled, take some resistance, and get back into the battlefield, my friend. This is these two spells alone are already worth this book, in my opinion, but it gets only better. We get Anointed People, so we stack up even more status resistance. So you see, I had a little bit of a plan there. And Consecrated Domain and Healing Spires are just powerful things to defend your own domain. Always worth it. Sanctuary is a nice alternative to the Spelljammer because it is much more powerful than that one, and if you have it, I highly recommend to use it. So, when we enter Tier 4, Tome of Chaos Channeling is the Chaos Tome to pick up, because, yeah, seriously, we can make so much good use out of that. A huge AoE fire nuke, in Fan the Inferno. Golden Horde allows us to spam out a new Tier 1 unit with just one spell. This is so good. If you ever lose too many troops, you can just get yourself new ones with that spell. And since we are playing something swarmy, this works really good. Sign of the Flame gives us a little bit of everything concerning fire resistance and fire retaliation. It's just a nice mixture without any downsides. And Gremlin Ambushers, yeah, get some free gremlin summons when you're working around a certain city. Can be cast on friendly and enemy cities, therefore it's stupidly powerful. And Demonic Focus gives all battle mages and supporters the ability to grow strengthened when whenever any unit dies, and they heal themselves, so you don't have to support them that heavily anymore. This is every single spell in this book synergizes with your strategy. That's so wonderful about this. And here, I haven't unlocked the Tier 4 one yet, so we go for Exaltation and the last one, which gives us such wonderful things as Angel Eyes, which makes our units celestial, flying, and all of them faithful, so they go cheaper. Celestial is not the most desirable trade because control loss immunity is relatively meh, but the flying is so stupidly good. Believe me, you can arrange your army so good with that one. And Celestial isn't bad. I didn't mean to mouth it bad. So Resurrect Unit gives you, well, what the name implies. Ascended Warriors gives you the ability to rank up an entire unit, an entire army, not unit, and the Temple of the Exalted gives us some more city stability, which is always desirable, and Shrine of Smiting is that guide that goes even more bonkers the more faithful units you got. Luckily, by that point, pretty much everything in your army should be faithful, so this thing hits like a truck. So the ruler's statue allows you to be there when not being there, so spells can be cast even if the ruler is in the void, is for a mystic culture extremely desirable and powerful, because that means it doesn't really matter if your ruler is dead or not. Also, he comes faster, gives you the ability to play a lot more reckless, and yeah, that's that. Tier 5, you can decide for yourself. The fun part is you have the affinities to pick up either of those. You can pick up either God Emperor for the stupidly high longevity options, or you can go for Tome of the Chaos Lord and play around with the many options to summon demons and cast stupidly costly spells that you can't just afford because you're playing Mystic. I'll leave that up to you. So let's get on over to the military analysis for this build. So as you might have already guessed, the Arcane Guard and the Arcanist are very important for our build. The Arcane Guard gets a little bit obsolete around the mid-game, but the Arcanist stays very powerful throughout the game. Due to the fact that we have such amazing battle mage enchantments, the Arcanist is a constant threat, being able to debuff the enemy by putting misfortune on them and inflicting various random effects. And this goes not so powerful from the beginning, but it grows even more powerful the longer the game goes. So in the Tier 2 roster, we honestly want mostly those spell shields. A couple of soothers don't hurt because they can heal relatively well, and they also make your spells a tad bit cheaper. At least bring one of them, by all means. Always one of these, because 20% cheaper spells, you always want that. So You gain relatively quickly access to the chat lane, so at that point you should totally add some of these supporters to your banner. So in the early and mid game, your banners should be composed out of a couple of arcane guards, a couple of arcanists, many, like one third arcane guards, one third arcanists, or maybe a little bit more than a third even, and fill up the rest of the blanks with supporters, and you have a devastating army. Fill in some Houndmasters if you have them researched for the throwaway units. It's always good to have something to put in there. They also spawn shock units, which is really, really good. And we are already pretty much good to go. I want to point out that the spell shields are one of the most important units for your army. Your build doesn't include any big blockers or anything. We're doing most of the heavy lifting with supportive enchantments and active spells. So the spell shields to have a lot of strain in that build, but they last well through it because we have a lot of heal and we have a lot of longevity tools. But you really need those guys, so you should totally add at some point many more of these by removing arcane guards out of your roster. You can reduce that third of arcane guards to, I don't know, depends on your own playstyle, but fill up the ranks with spell shields. They are in every regard just more useful than the arcane guard. Yes, you put away one tier 1 unit, but on damage, the damage we really rely on comes from the Arcanists anyway, and the spell shields are there to protect us. And the Spellbreaker unit, well, it's just the pinnacle of what we're already doing. The Star Purge is amazing because it does debuff the enemy, deals a lot of damage to magic units, and this debuffing can really even strip down temporary HP. So these guys are something you should totally put into your roster. Feel free to replace a couple of Arcanists with Spellbreakers, basically as many as you can afford, because, you know, these guys are taking a lot of time to produce and they're costly. So it's basically, if you could, you would want to kick out all the Arcanists at some point and replace them with Spellbreakers, because there's nothing they are better at except for being cheaper. Okay, so you can fill your military roster in between with all those wonderful summons that we have access to. This is one of the major stupidly powerful points of this build, because we can fill up our armies on the get-go. With Summon Irregulars, you have a constant influx of tier 1 units. We can summon Gremlins if we want some skirmishes. We can get ourselves some Lightbringers if we need some new Battle Mages. And with as soon as you have access to the Gremlin Ambushers, you have even access to throwaway units in most war scenarios. So you're really set. You can fill up your army while you're marching far away from home. This strategy gets even more powerful when we look into the Chaos skill tree here. Call of Chaos gives us more troops when we destroy infestations. Remember, we can spawn these at will. And we also gain later down the road the Lure of the Horde skill, which gives you potentially even tier 2 units when you're winning battles. This is one build that always has units, and you never have a problem with having these. So I hope this military roster analysis helps you. So let's get to the strategy part. So with this game, you are super potent at warfare from turn 1, and you don't stop being a volatile bullet. That's the wonderful thing about Tome of the Horde. You basically research the spawnkin thing, and you are just you're just bursty to go. You want to expand a little bit. I personally don't think you need more than 4 cities. And as soon as you have like 2 banners of troops together, look for something that you can attack. Ideally, you want to have justified wars, because surprisingly, you are pretty well off with good alignment, and it's not that hard. You can just settle in the face of people, or you use the hostile city-states. Whatever might be the case, I just want to point out, due to your high affinity to chaos, you are really well off to wage war. And the most fun part is, since we also rock order, we are really good at conquering a city and then vassalize it and then reap the rewards. This is a very, very valid playstyle for this build. You can, of course, just leave Scorched Earth behind you. So, to give you one example here, this is one of my late game armies that I'm currently, or well, we're transitioning into the late game. I have gotten myself some iron golems. These could be also spell shields, would work as well. Actually, I would prefer spell shields, but I got them here in this scenario free from a quest. And as you see here, I have even more battle mages and one spearman. And we got here in this roster one houndmaster, even more supporters, more battle mages. So as you see there, there is a bias that 50% of the roster are ranged and supporters, while the other 50% are contested by heroes and melee units. You can, of course, divert that as you see fit. I never see an ideal plot in that. The only thing that's really important this build needs its battle mages and supporters. In this banner here, for example, I think I need to add in one or two more supporters. I think I have a few too many melee units here, but it always changes, and this army already has beaten like 4 or 5 Doomstacks without losing too many troops, only 1 or 2 here and there. So this build excels at being stupidly resilient. Basically, as soon as you have access to the first 2 tomes, you are already good to go to bust down most AI enemies, because you can heal a lot, you have the ability to grab vassals easily, and at tier 2 you will win against most Doomstacks of the enemy, because you have the ability to disrupt their damage dealing massively with Mark of Misfortune. Don't underestimate the power of that. You will see so many fumbles, and Tome of the Beacon just gives you the really nice backbone here with some healing capabilities for the battle, and Mighty Meek will power up your roster even more. So, and once you hit the tier 3 realm, I haven't seen anything that was able to stop me at that point, because the AI wasn't really able to coordinate itself against all that support shenanigans. And since you always have tier 1 units to sacrifice, it's never hard to digress losses towards somewhere where you can't just afford to do so, especially since we got that keeper's mark on ourselves. This makes it super easy to say, all right, you stay there, we'll abandon you, the enemy will mop up on you, and you are the sacrificial lamb. The rest of the banner will just kick ass during that turn. You can plan your losses extremely well with this build, so it's no biggie since you have tons of reinforcements. Righty, so that sums it up. I hope you enjoyed it. I am planning to do another Chaos Order build, actually, because I figured the other path of zealousness and demonology could be also addressed, and well, we'll see about that. I have more ideas in mind. I also plan to do other opposites, so there has been also the request for Nature Shadow and Astral Materium, so leave me comments what you'd like to see, since you're still hanging out here, so you watched this video. I'd like to know what you'd like to see. Leave a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. I'd be delighted if you did so. Check out the playlist link down there leading to various other Age of Wonders 4 videos of mine. And a big thanks to the supporters of this channel. I appreciate all you do, and you enable me to continue my work that we all enjoy. So check out Patreon, PayPal, and buy me a coffee. If you'd be so kind, I'd be super delighted. And if not, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching this video.